Hey everybody, welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here. My name is Felicia from Sweet Georgia and also the School of Sweet Georgia, and this is our live office hours for the School of Sweet Georgia. So this is the time that we come once a month, every month on the last Thursday of every month around 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, and we just catch up about all of the things that have been happening inside the school. And what have we been doing in terms of courses and projects, and what do we have going on? All of those kinds of things. And the biggest part of these sessions is basically sharing some of the things that you guys have been making and celebrating your successes and your wins. And we have actually a ton of things going on right now. We have a ton of successful projects that I want to share with you guys. We are just at the end of July right now. And so some of you guys are still spinning for Tour de Fleece. Some of you guys have finished. But this month of July has been very, very spinning centric. So we have lots of spinning things to share as well. So hopefully everybody can hear me okay and see me okay, and all of that. And so I will show you what we sort of always have planned in terms of what we have going on. I have like a little bit of an agenda here. And basically we start with sort of what's been going on, top of mind, what's happening right now. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about the community stuff and how that's all working out. We're going to talk about upcoming events. I don't really know why community is on here twice. We talk about it a lot. Oftentimes we will have a Q&A. So if you do have any questions about anything that's come up in the course content for the school, feel free to ask your questions in the chat here, and I will try to keep on top of the chat and then answer any questions that you have. Just really open to, hearing what you guys are thinking and how your experience has been in the school, and just, yeah, happy to respond to any of those things. And then finally, like I said, the big part of our live office hours is sharing the things that you have been making and the successes that you've had. So it's very, very nice to see you guys here in the chat. Thank you guys so much for being here today. As you can see, there's a little photo there of what is basically on this loom right behind me right now. And this is some of the stuff that I'm working on right now in terms of a waffle weave project that is going to be coming out later on this year for the school. You can see those floats are super long. And so it will be very, very interesting to see what happens to those floats after it comes off of the loom, and once we wet finish it and wash it and all of those kinds of things. But that yarn that I'm using there is actually the Trifecta Fine. It's a new yarn that we've come out with at Sweet Georgia that has mohair in it. It has blue-faced Leicester wool in it, and it has silk in it. And it is not at all treated, so it will felt if you give it a little bit of agitation. So I'm very, very curious to see what will happen when we full this waffle weave wool project here. But anyways, that is basically what has been top of mind for me very much. But what else has been going on? I'm going to share with you some of the things that have been happening inside the school. And so the very first thing is that I have added the machine knitting page to the website. So if you go onto the School of Sweet Georgia website, you will be able to find under the Learn menu, we're trying to consolidate and update the menu to make it, a little bit easier to access and a little bit easier to find everything. But we've added a machine knitting category to join all of the other categories that we have, like spinning and dyeing, weaving and crochet, all of those. Machine knitting is now in there. And we have the one class that's going to come out next month. And so that is going to be available very, very shortly. So let me see if I can find for you the other things that have been going on. So let's see here. Yes, here's the machine knitting page. And, oh, it's very big. There we go. So there's the machine knitting page. And on here we have our instructor, Barb. And then we have our first class that's going to be coming out in August. That's the first one. And then the next one that we have coming up is we're going to have machine knitting with lace. And I don't know if you guys recognize this at all. This is one of our patterns from like a million years ago. This is called Cash Silk Fern. And this was originally a hand knit lace project that we had available as a free pattern. I knit it in cashmere and silk lace yarn, but here on the machine, we've decided to use a DK weight yarn for that. And so Barb will go through and explain how to transform that hand knitting pattern into a machine knitting pattern. And so she shows all of the charts and all of that. And then we also have these classes coming up as well. So we have machine knitting socks on a flatbed knitting machine. That's going to come out next year, and also machine knitting with hats. So you can make a very quick and easy hat with the machine. And so she shows you how to do decreases and how to make that crown sort of area and all of that kind of stuff. So that is all coming up. And then I popped in some of our circular sock machine knitting stuff that's going to be coming out as well. So this year we are going to start with stockinette socks. So plain old stockinette socks. I sort of update them a little bit by adding mock rib to them and then also adding stripes to them. But those are very, very simple socks. And then next year we're going to tackle the ribber on the CSM, and we're going to look at all of that. So that is kind of what's coming with those courses. Now, what else do we have? We have also updated the other craft pages. So basically the idea is that we're trying to move away from what we originally had created, which was called the learning paths. And the learning paths were supposed to guide you through all the different courses. But I think that people were having trouble finding that spot with the learning paths. And so when you go to the spinning page, you would see all of, like, we had 30 some courses of spinning courses. And people who were new to the school or even having been here for a long time would look at the page and they weren't sure exactly what order to take the classes in. And so that is something that we've been really, really trying to reorganize. And so, like I said, we're coming away from that learning path sort of idea and instead trying to find my tabs here. Okay, and then instead we are going towards using this area. So under learn, under crafts, we've updated some of these pages. So if you look at, say, like the spinning page, we've tried to update it so that if it's your very first time spinning, you've never touched a wheel before, you've never picked up a spindle, we encourage you to start with these classes. And then from here, if you've done spinning from scratch, you know how to spin a continuous thread. Maybe you've done it on spindles. Maybe you want to try supported spindles. Maybe you want to try e-spinners. But after that, after you know how to spin a continuous thread, then we've proposed some next steps with your learning. So one of the first things that we encourage people to do is take a look at the Spinning Up a Level course that's created by Katrina Stewart. And she goes into all different kinds of drafting techniques, drafting methods, different kind of fiber prep, all of that kind of stuff. And then we have with Kim McKenna, we have a course called Nuances to Spinning Better Yarns. And that's almost like the next level above that, kind of just finessing and improving and tweaking all of your spinning techniques in that way. Greta's also sort of pulled together a study group, sort of study guide that would work you through all of these different lessons week by week. So if you wanted to follow a course like that, you could also do that. And then here we have a couple of more classes that are kind of next level, building on all the things that you've already sort of learned and moving from there. And then we organize this section into fiber prep and fleece. So this is everything from using a drum carder, using blending boards, using hand carders, blending colors together, blending fibers and textures and all these things. And then in here, there's also the course about working from fleece. So in this particular course, Kim sort of shows you how to take a fleece. If you went to the fleece auction, like recently there was the fleece auction here in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver area. And you could go to this fleece auction and purchase an entire fleece, like pounds and pounds of raw wool that are straight off of the sheep. And so in this particular course, Kim explains, how do you wash that? How do you wash that to get all the lanolin out, get all the grease out, so that way it's clean and ready for you to process in terms of either combing or carding or whatever you want to do with that fleece once it's clean. And then spinning from there, of course, and all of that kind of stuff. And so that one goes very, very much into depth with that. And then and then we also worked through that by putting together a bit of a study guide for working with that working from fleece course and combining it with Kim's previous nuances course as well. So there's lots and lots of ways. Once you've learned to spin your continuous yarn, and then you've learned how to ply, and you learn, this kind of twist and that kind of twist, then from there there's a lot of just finessing of technique of how does it feel in your hands, what are the different kinds of materials, how can you blend them together. And so after this section, then we look at the fiber itself. So these are the courses where Rachel Smith has come to teach us about spinning different sheep breeds, like different kinds of wool, fine wool versus medium wool versus coarse versus primitive, all of those kinds of things. And then she goes into a section on luxury fibers, silk, camel-based fibers, and then goats, which is like cashmere, and rare fibers. So cashmere, mohair, pagora, yak, and angora in here. And then finally, this past year, we started going into the cellulose fibers. So Kim McKenna is teaching us the bast fibers first. So she has toe tops and bast blends here. We played with the flax and the hemp and the rami and nettle. So this is kind of like looking at all of the different fibers. And so our plan is for next year, 2026, or yeah, sometime next year, we're hoping to put together a course specifically on how to spin cotton. So that's the next cellulose fiber that we're going to tackle. So that is coming as well. So excited about all of those things. And then finally, we put in here a section on color and texture. So this is basically about color management with your fiber. So mostly these ones are with like hand painted braids, hand painted yarns. So Kim has a class where she takes a hand painted braid and breaks it up and spins it into 5 completely different yarns. I also have a class here called Spinning Intentional Color, which also goes into a lot of these kinds of techniques, like combo spinning, combo plying, combo drafting, all of that kind of thing, chain plying to keep your color separate, all of these different techniques. And then we have another one that is really, really fun. This one is with Debbie Held on spinning textured yarns. So how do you get those colors to like pop and bloom and, mix in all different kinds of ways and different yarn structures? And then finally, in this section, we have a section called intentional spinning. So this idea is really about spinning with the end in mind. What are you going to make with the yarn that you're sitting down to spin? Are you going to make a hat? Are you going to make socks? Are you going to make a sweater? Because the kind of yarn that you want at the end of the day will inform all of the decisions that you make about like, how thick do you need it to be? How many plies does it need to be? What kind of twist does it need to be? And then even working backwards even more into, well, what kind of material should it be? What kind of fiber should I start with? Should I start with a wool? Should I start with a wool blend? All of those kinds of questions and considerations. So all of that is available here as well. And then we have a course with Katrina again and her husband on tuning up your wheel, maintaining your wheel. And then we pulled out a few handy techniques that we often go to. And so these are sort of lessons pulled out of various classes where we can show you a couple of things that we feel are really, really important for everybody to know. So that is kind of the reorganization of, say, like the spinning page. And you can see all of the fiber prep meetings that Greta has hosted. Every month she has a meeting where she's getting together with the spinners in the school and sharing, what they're working on in terms of fiber prep and how they're spinning it. A lot of the past couple of months has been working through that spinning up a level worksheet and all that content. So that is there. And we are slowly going through and updating all of the landing pages for these crafts so that they kind of reflect the same sort of structure. So weaving is the same. We're, again, using the same kind of format starting here. These are the foundational courses that we'd like everybody to watch. So many of these are with Laura Fry, all of her techniques of weaving and being really, really efficient and also very ergonomic with all of the weaving. And then we have a section here on multi-shaft weaving, getting started with that and the weave structures. And then moving down, we have also rigid heddle weaving. We actually have tons of rigid heddle weaving classes. So that's all here. And then we have a section about weaving with color and all of those projects. It looks like I have a bit of a color theme there, I think. can you tell what my favorite colors might be? So that's a little bit of that. And then again, weaving techniques in terms of we're pulling out various lessons from different weaving classes that we feel like are really, really important. People ask us all the time, how do we read a weaving draft? How do you fix a broken warp thread? So we're putting that there. And then also we put Laura Fry's course on sectional warping in this area on techniques as well. So that's all there. Yeah, so we're excited to build this out some more in the coming months. And we're going to be doing this with all of the different landing pages as well. So hopefully you'll be able to see that coming up as we continue to make changes all the time to the website. So we're constantly trying to tweak and improve it. So that's a little bit of what has been happening there. So updating those craft pages. Now, Elena, you're asking if there's anything for card or tablet weaving and other band weaving techniques. You have a band loom on the way. Yes, we have plans for some band weaving content that's going to be coming out. Hopefully, we're planning for next year. So that is in the works. That is in the works. I know people have been asking that for a long time. And then I know that we had a group form that was interested in doing inkle weaving. And so there was a little bit of self-study, self-directed learning around inkle weaving. And now I think we want to provide a little bit of formal teaching, formal course about the band weaving stuff. So yeah, very excited about all of that. So that's all coming. And what else is in the works? So I have to share that, yes, the CSM class, we are currently editing it. We're reviewing all the videos. The workbook is being reviewed right now. I've put together a pattern for it as well, and so that's being reviewed. So we have a couple of folks in the SOS community who are test driving my workbook and giving notes and feedback. So I really, really, really appreciate that. So that's Meg and Joseph are helping me out with that. So thank you so much. We are also working on that waffle weave workshop. And so that one we're hoping is like more of a light class. We don't want it to be like a big, intensive, heavy class because theoretically, if you're coming into the waffle weave class, you already know how to use your multi-shaft loom. You know how to thread it, you know how to dress it, you know how to tie it up. And so we're going to provide you with some weaving drafts for 4-shaft looms and 8-shaft looms. And you're going to set up your loom and get it all ready to play with this technique. But we have a towel project that's going to be coming out for that and a scarf project that's going to be coming out. And so hopefully my contribution will be a little bit of guidance and some encouragement to give this waffle weave technique a try and see what you can make with it. I think that we've been since we started, we've been making flat textiles. And so waffle weave is going to be one of the first things that's going to be like this textured. Your things are going to shift and change. And so, when you expect things to stay flat and they don't stay flat, how can you sort of navigate all of that? So that's going to be really, really fun. And then the other thing that we've been working on is we have been building out that Sweet Georgia community site. And so that community on Circle is like a bigger, broader community that encompasses everybody from members of the school to members of our Secret Stash Club to anybody who wants to participate in our make-alongs or anything like that. It's bigger, broader, sort of everybody's welcome kind of community there. And behind the scenes, we are, of course, working on Knit City stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on at the studio right now. There's a lot of dyeing happening for Knit City. And so there's going to be some new products. And yeah, I have lots to say about that later. And Winterful Weave Along. Winterful Weave Along is something that we started last year, and it was kind of a way to celebrate the weaving. It's just to celebrate weaving, no matter what kind of loom you have. And so last year we focused on log cabin, which is actually plain weave. And so it could be woven on a rigid heddle loom, multi-shaft loom, floor loom, table loom, whatever you want to weave it on. But because it was log cabin, it is using 2 different colors, and just the way that you arrange everything creates this very graphic pattern. So that's very, very cool. And so this year for Winterful Weave Along, we are focusing on plaids and tartans. So if you haven't watched our plaids and tartans weaving class in the school, that one is available there. But basically the Winterful Weave Along is going to allow us to do those plaids and tartans in both rigid heddle loom, table loom, floor loom, whatever you want to weave it on, but it's going to be a celebration of sort of color and plaids and tartans, and you can design your own, of course, if you want to. And yes, we have some new weaving patterns being worked out now because Gist Yarns has some new yarns coming out soon. So I'm really, really excited to play with some of those. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say what the yarns are, so I'm not going to say, but I just know that Gist has new things and I am playing with them and I will show you soon. Hopefully by September, because we're hoping that it will be one of the demo things at Knit City. So if you are coming to Knit City, if you're coming to Vancouver, hopefully you'll be able to see this new weaving project on the loom. Very excited about that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the community stuff. So, community, if you guys have not yet joined us, I know many of you have come over into this new community, and it's fantastic. I love seeing all of your sort of engagement in there, all of your participation. It's been awesome. I'm really, really excited to see you there. Now, if you haven't found it yet, you can go to our I'll show you here. Can I show you here? Yes. Okay. If you go to your dashboard, so if you are in the school, you can find your dashboard by going here, right? You click under your sort of name and your avatar, and you click on dashboard, and you will get to this page. And then scroll down all the way to the bottom of the page, and we have a section here that says, join us on the Sweet Georgia community. And then you click this, and it will take you to this page, schoolofsweetgeorgia.com/circle. And so this will get you into the new community there. And so, can I see if I can get it? So here's a look inside the new community space. And so you can see here we have a new space that I actually created this week by the request of some of the members to create a dyeing space inside the new community forums. And so that's one of the things that we've been doing. But yeah, this is a new community space, and it's just a little bit different from our previous community space, because it just allows for a little bit of quicker access. There's also a mobile app that you can download. The mobile app doesn't look like this. It's a little bit more streamlined and minimalist, but you get access to all your messages. You can get access to the chat and all of that kind of thing. So if you are in here, you'll be able to see all of the different posts that are going on. Oh, so there's my waffle weave post, and there's a couple of other things in here. And then we have some posts in here from various members and things like that. So in any case, this is where a lot of things are being shared right now. So really, really excited to see all that. The other thing that wanted to make sure that you guys know is that we have some specific SOS spaces that are available to us. So if you are a member of the school and you come over and you see our new community here, you will be able to access these two little sections as well. So SOS members and SOS events. So if you go into SOS events, we have basically replicated the calendar in here as well. And so you can RSVP for any of these events as well. And so if you say like want to go to the Wednesday Crafternoon, you can check it out here, and then you can RSVP. It is a virtual event, meaning that it will send you to a link to this page where you will get the Zoom link. So one of the things that we are trying to do is consolidate where we host all of these events and things like that. And so we'll be working on that, and I'll be able to share that with you guys a little bit later. So that is the new Circle community space that we are sort of working with. We also have and have always had our SOS community forums. And so this one, if you recognize, this is where you can pop in and ask really specific questions about the course content. And you can also ask instructors for help. You can ask us for help. And so this one is more like if you need anything that's related specifically to the courses, whereas the stuff that's a little bit more open and more casual and more conversational on Circle, it could be related to anything that you happen to be making or working on. And then, like I said, we have all of these different types of meetups. And so we're trying to consolidate where we host them, like which platform we're hosting them on, like whether it's Zoom or Google Meet or Circle or YouTube. We're trying to consolidate all of that. And we'll just try to keep you guys informed of where we're going to be hosting things and as we go. But that is where you guys can connect with us in lots of different ways that you can connect with us. So I hope that you guys are enjoying all of that so far. Next, let's talk about the latest updates. So, like I said, one of the latest courses that we had come out is Caitlin Shepard's course with this Oh Dearie Me sweater. It's a top-down stranded colorwork sweater. We also have we did a bit of a color picking session inside of our community where I showed a bunch of different palettes. We had knit a bunch of different swatches showing different color combinations. So that is all there if you wanted to take a look at that as well. So you don't necessarily have to do it in this exact yarn and these exact colors. You can mix and blend yarns. So in this case, we were using Trifecta Fine mixed together with Silk Mist to make kind of like a fuzzy, warm, cozy sweater. So that is another option if you'd like. And we are doing a make along for this. So starting tomorrow, August 1st, we're doing stranded colorwork sweater knit along. So we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. And like I mentioned, machine knitting class is coming out next month. Well, in very shortly, it's coming out in August, which is tomorrow. And so the machine knitting class is coming out. You can see this is one of the projects that's come out of this. This is a scarf that has been knit on the bias with some eyelets. And so this yarn, the purple one, this is one of our yarns. It's the SweetGeorgia Cash Luxe Fine. So it's cashmere and soft and silky and all that kind of stuff. And then actually in the community forums, Barb just posted that she is also remaking this exact same project, but she's making it in a completely different yarn. So she's using this yarn called Gobsmacked. And it looks like it is sort of like a hand-dyed, a little bit variegated mohair, silky kind of mohair yarn. Just one fine, fluffy strand of yarn in the machine. So it'll be really interesting to see how that turns out. But I just think it's really great how something that has this very simple pattern can be worked in all different kinds of yarns, different colors, to completely different effects. Like I could see this definitely being worked up in a sock blank. So if you have a gradient sock blank, how would that change everything? You could alternate colors, you could work stripes into this. There's lots and lots of things that you could do with this one very simple pattern. And then, like I said, we have the CSM course coming out as well. So we'll be looking at things like this, like how to knit stripes and how to join colors and all of that kind of stuff. So that's coming up as well. Now, for events, like I mentioned, starting tomorrow, August 1st, we are knitting either, this is one of your choice, this is a sweater, stranded sweater knit along. You can knit the Oh Dearie Me sweater, or you can knit the Falling Leaves sweater. This is designed by Caitlin Shepard and Andrea Rangel. Now, I believe that what I'm going to be doing, I talked about it a while ago and I was trying to find which month I talked about it, but I had a plan where I was going to use the Falling Leaves pattern, and I had changed the motif of the yoke. I changed the design of the yoke, and I'd already worked out the plan and the color work and everything. I already pulled all the yarns. It's all ready to go. And so my goal is to actually start sort of from the bottom of the yoke, and I'm going to cast on with a provisional cast on, and then I'm going to knit the yoke by hand, all the color work in the yoke by hand. And then because the plan is actually I'm going camping next week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going camping. So I thought I would work on the yoke while I was at camping, and then when I come back, I can hang the provisional cast on from the machine and then knit downwards to finish the sweater. So it's basically taking Andrea's pattern, but then reconfiguring it in my brain in terms of how it's going to be constructed. So these sweaters, you can modify, you can change however you want, design a different yoke if you like, but the idea is that Andrea's Falling Leaves pattern is knit from the bottom up, And then the Oh Dearie Me pattern is knit from the top down. So it's whatever your choice is. So you can go check out this link here, community.sweetgeorgiayarns.com, and then we have make-alongs, stranded sweater knit along, and then you can sort of see all of the information that Bridget has posted there about that. So you can check that one out. But we start tomorrow, and we have like many times where we meet up during the month. So really looking forward to, if you want to bring your project and share it with us and see progress, all of that kind of stuff, hopefully you'll be able to join us for one of those meetups. Now, this is about Knit City in Vancouver. I've mentioned this before. If you are in and around the Vancouver area and you'd like to come and sort of meet us in person, I'm very excited that we are again hosting and sponsoring the lounge at Knit City in Vancouver. And so we are also going to be celebrating our 20th anniversary. September 9th is the date that I started the yarn company. So that's the day that I posted a bunch of skeins of yarn on Etsy. And so that's the day that we kind of celebrate. It's September 9th, 2005 is when we started doing all of this. But yeah, we are hoping to bring back some sort of nostalgic vintage colorways. You guys might see those at the show. We're also going to be doing some special projects in collaboration with Knit City. And then we're also hoping to do a SOS specific meetup on the Sunday at 11 a.m. I try to do it on the Sunday because I know everybody who's kind of coming on coming on the Saturday, everybody's like in the zone of I am here. I have not bought yarn at a yarn festival for 2 years now, and I'm here to look at all the booths and do a bit of shopping. And so Sunday tends to be a little bit more relaxed time, and it's time for us to sort of just hang out a little bit more in the lounge, and we would be happy to meet with you. So Robin is just saying, hey, I know one of those people because this is a photo with Robin in it the last time she came to Knit City. And so Greta's here as well, and then this is Rachel from the demos that she had done previously. But we're hoping to do more demos this year. You can let us know if there's any particular demos that you'd like to see us do. But we are going to do some CSM demos, the LK150 machine knitting demo. I have a whole bunch of dataless starlings that are going to be coming to the show. So if you wanted to take home a starling, you might want to come visit our booth. And so I'm going to have one of those on display as well. And then we'll have some weaving looms as well. So lots and lots of things to look at and see and all of that. So hopefully you might be able to join us for that event. And then finally, we have our August calendar. You can see it is actually quite full up with many things. And it's just over the years, things have grown significantly in terms of the number of meeting times that we have. So we have our community-led crafternoons. There's crafternoons on Sunday. There are crafternoons on Monday. There are crafternoons on Wednesdays. There's lots of times to meet up. And then Fridays is kind of like a crafternoon, but it's a quiet version. So Fridays, everybody will come and meet on Zoom, and they might get together a little bit early and chat, and then they spend 1 hour working concentrated on their project. So everybody goes on mute and you just work on your project. So that is another option. We also have in here, I put the live office hours, this last Thursday of every month. Our Taking Back Friday is a live stream we do on YouTube. It's usually the second Friday of every month. But again, like I said, I'm away 7, 8, 9, 10 for camping. So I can't live stream from a place that has no internet. And then we also added the fact that on the second Saturday of every month, we open the studio in Vancouver for anybody who wants to come in and hang out. And there's a bit of like a kind of like a knit night, but we do it at the daytime. And so you can come out and hang out on Saturdays with Charlotte to do that. And then we still have our sort of topic-focused weaving meetup and fiber prep meetups that on Monday evenings. And then we have the multi-craftual meetup, and that one is designed to be open to everybody. Anybody in our Sweet Georgia community is welcome to come to the multi-craftual meetup. Now, just a note, we're thinking about moving the day of the week of that multi-craftual meetup, just because there are crafternoons already on that day. So maybe we should move it to another day where there's no crafternoon. And also Mondays are really difficult because there's so many federal holidays here in Canada on Mondays. And so we were constantly moving the date. Like August 4th is a holiday, so we had to move it to a different date. So in any case, this is our calendar for what is coming up next. Now, let's talk about what's been going on inside and what you guys have been working on. So this is one of the first things I wanted to share because we always celebrate first hand spun yarn. Spinning your first ever yarn is very, very exciting, and it's something something to celebrate. And so Val has shown her in this post, she showed her 2 bobbins that she spun, and then she plied them together. She says that she's using the e-spinner, first ever hand spun yarn with my e-spinner. And she says, I can only get better from here. So that's really, really lovely attitude. She did mention like she thought that the yarn might be a little bit inconsistent. Some of it was bulky and some of it was sport. But you know what? Like everything is just, this is the very first. I mean, I wish I had kept my first hand spun or even took a picture of it because it was so mangled, and I think I just threw it away. But everybody, like you guys are all doing fantastic with your very first hand spun. So congratulations on that. It looks wonderful. We have a lot of spinning posts because it has been Tour de Fleece this July. So I wanted to share some of the progress that people were making during Tour de Fleece. And so this is Judy. Judy saying that she achieved her daily spinning goal, except she missed 2 days, which I don't think is a problem because there's 2 rest days during Tour de Fleece anyways. So it's not like missed anything. I think that those were intentional rest days. But Judy said that she finished the spinning from scratch courses and all of that, and she has a bunch of yarn to share from that. But I think that her plan was to continue this daily spinning practice and to get into the rhythm of that. And then the next thing she's going to do is work on the Spin in Clinic course. So the Spin in Clinic, I showed that during the spinning page, but that one is taught by Kim McKenna. And Kim McKenna works with 3 different spinners. One person who has been, I believe, spinning less than a year, and then one person who's spinning for a couple of years, and one person who's been spinning for many more years. And so depending on where you are at your spinning journey, Kim has some feedback and advice and guidance for each one of these spinners. And so that will be a really, really interesting course to look at as well as you sort of increase your skills and see what do I do next? Where do I go from here? Like I know how to do this. Where do I go now? We have some more finished Tour de Fleece yarns, and this is by Maureen. So Maureen Carter shared that she was spinning this brown yarn that is CVM, and she started this in June. It is beautiful. It looks like, even from the photo, it looks bouncy and round and spongy and beautiful. And then the blue-green is alpaca top. Everything here is 2-ply. And then she said that her ongoing goal is to get better and more consistent. But yeah, it looks beautifully consistent. This alpaca looks really beautifully plied. And also you can see like it looks a little bit slick, right? Alpaca doesn't have that sort of spongy nature like all of these other wool fibers do. And so it is definitely more slick and more fine. It's really, really lovely. So thank you for sharing that. In more Tour de Fleece spinning, this is from Michelle. Michelle said that she's been chipping away at my fiber stash this Tour de Fleece. I decided to work on spinning my solid color braids of fiber in preparation for some color work knitting. So this is all 2-ply fingering or sport weight, and she has 6 down and 4 more to go. And so I plan to keep up my daily spinning practice until it's all spun up. So these are gorgeous. I don't know where your solid fiber came from, but it's really beautiful. Like even just this palette without the 4, I don't know what other 4 colors you have coming, but this will definitely make some really, really lovely color work knitting. So that's beautiful. And then here we have from Joni. Joni is sharing that she spun actually 2 full braids of the Tour de Fleece colorway that we made. And it was on that fin sheep or finished top. And we dyed it in a color called Butterfly Garden, and it was a gradient. It was kind of like a rainbow gradient, pastelish kind of colors, lighter colors. And so she spun 2 full bobbins of that, and then she's going to ply all of that up. And yeah, it's a very, very different experience spinning with that fin top. It feels very different from anything else that we normally spin or that I normally spin. But you can see this is from Joni, and you can see that some of these projects are being shared in that circle community. So you're more than welcome to post in there as well. And it just seems like it's been more conducive for posting for some people, but you're absolutely more than welcome to post in whichever platform you feel more comfortable with. Now, this one is awesome. So this is by Maureen or Mo, and she is working through 37 different sheep breeds for Tour de Fleece. And so this one represents just the first group of fine fibers. And she said these were all good to spin. They're relatively soft and they're super poofy after finishing. These are all 3-ply and around 15 grams each, and then finished by soaking and snapping. And the finishing super poofed them. But you can see they're very poofy. They look round and spongy and gorgeous and beautiful. And yeah, the spinning is super consistent, and the plying is super consistent. I'm curious if you probably spun them to 3 different bobbins and then plied them together. They look really beautifully consistent. So I can't zoom in close enough to see what the source of the fiber is, but I can see up here, this is Falkland, Polworth, Merino, Rambouillet, and Targhee. So that is fantastic. So these are 5 out of 37. So she says, I'm on to my next batch of medium fibers next. She said Falkland was my least favorite. Rambouillet was the top honors for this batch. And I'm going to make these into permanent knit swatches for reference. So she's going to knit all of these swatches up, or these little skeins up. Fantastic. So there were lots more spinning posts, but I didn't want the whole the whole session to be all spinning. But yeah, congratulations to everybody for participating in Tour de Fleece, however much you spun. Like, I hope that you reach whatever goal you set for yourself, whether it was just like 10 minutes a day or spinning as much as you could, or, you know, finishing whatever project you wanted to finish. I hope that you got something of that done. For me, I spun a bunch of 3-ply crepe yarn, which is a new yarn construction for me. So I'm practicing with that. And I spun it first with kind of like an undyed color, so I couldn't see some of the effect. And then I spun it again with some Targhee that was all hand painted Targhee. So I'm waiting to take photos of that and hopefully be able to share that with you guys in the future. But yeah, I'm going to also see how it looks when I crank it in the machine and see how it knits up. So excited for all of that. Now, we're moving into weaving stuff right now. So this is by Lauren. Lauren worked on the Fraser scarf. And so I know Lauren was working on this scarf. She was doing like a few picks at a time, she said, while we were in the various meetings over the past month. She said she finally finished the Fraser scarf. I found the linen quite different while weaving, but this came out really soft using the flax and silk. And so the colors were Fresh Air, which is kind of like a pale green color, and Dragon Fruit, which is a pink color. And so you can see how this twill is 2 different colors of this twill, because one side is more weft faced and one side is more warp faced, or warp dominant, and the other one's more weft dominant. That's what you would see on this unbalanced twill. And so yeah, if you are ever interested in learning how to weave a twill on a rigid heddle loom, this is the course for you. It's the 2 heddle twills on a rigid heddle with Amanda Wood. So thank you for sharing that one, Lauren. I'm glad to see that it is all done. The other project that Lauren shared is that she wove some shoelaces. So she tried out an Inkle loom to see how it would work, and she managed to make these really cool shoelaces. I don't know how many ends it is. It looks like, oh, she said there's 13 warp threads. And the pattern was from an Ashford Wheel magazine, and she used Ashford 5-2 cotton. So we have lots of 5-2 cotton around here as well. Yeah, we should try this as well. But shoelaces, so cool. And she even finished the ends. And so these ones would definitely, yeah, they'll go through all the holes in your shoes. And you can just imagine all the fun colors and the patterns that you could make if you just made some shoelaces. And if you ever like oh, warping takes so long, or I have to wind so many warp ends. This is 13 warp ends. You can do this. So yeah, next year we'll have a course where you can learn how to do this exactly. But I encourage you to try it out if you'd like. This one is by Nina. So if you come and follow her posts in the weaving space on the community, you'll be able to find that Nina took some 100% silk yarn. She wound a warp with it and she wanted to dye it, but she was saying that she has no place to sort of lay out the warp to hand paint it. And so instead, she kettle dyed it. So you can see from her photos, she had the warp and then she kind of looped it in a way where it would repeat in certain sections, and then she dunked part of that looped warp into a pot so that she could dye some sections blue, some sections green, and so on. And then she's using the sea silk lace that we have for weft. And then she chose a very straightforward sort of like she wanted to use something really, really simple. And so I believe this is a broken twill. So it looks kind of like a Dornick twill pattern here that she's got, a broken twill pattern. Yeah, this is really, really lovely. So you can see from her post, because she's posted a couple, and she'll show different sections of the colors coming out in the warp. And she's like saying, oh, it looks a little bit like a watercolor painting, how the color kind of ebbs and flows. It's really, really beautiful. Oh, Nina's here saying the scarf is finished and I have to post photos and how the story of how you messed up. No. Yeah, I'll be excited to see all that. But it's this the scarf is gorgeous and it's looking beautiful. So I'm excited to see the rest of your story and how all of that goes. And the last one for weaving today, this one is by Juliet. And so Juliet, near the start of the month, I think, she got a Ashford Knitters rigid heddle loom. So this is their first time working with a rigid heddle loom. Juliet is a very, very experienced spinner, and so she has her e-spinner and has spun a ton of yarn on the e-spinner. And so she started to use her hand spun yarn on the new rigid heddle loom. And so all of this is all hand spun. It's absolutely beautiful. And then she finished actually 2 projects. So said the first project was purple, learned a ton, and then worked my second project, which is peach, and finished that one too in less than a week. So I think that people are often surprised or shocked at like weaving sounds like it takes so much time and setting up the loom and everything like that, but the rigid heddle is just so fast and so accessible. You can be up and weaving within an hour, and then if you can finish a scarf in a week, it's pretty amazing. And it's really light and it's portable. You can pick up your loom and just go anywhere. And I think the knitter's loom, you might even be able to unscrew the ends and it folds. And so you can put it into a bag and then carry it with you. It's very, very portable. It's making me think that maybe I should take one camping with me, but I, I, I think I might have my hands full anyways. But this is fantastic. So I hope that Juliet, that you continue on with more of your weaving projects with your rigid heddle loom. Yeah, very excited to see how that all comes together. I love seeing hand spun yarn worked up in weaving, in knitting, however, but it's really, really lovely. And then I have 2 last projects. So this one is Meg. Meg is also in the chat today. And so, like I said, Meg is one of the folks who's helping me out with the CSM course and the workbook, just kind of reviewing my workbook to make sure that it's nice and complete. And she had previously posted how she was trying to dye yarn so that she could make Minnesota Vikings socks for her husband. So purple and yellow. Purple and yellow are very tricky, right? They're obviously opposite on the color wheel. And so if you're trying to dye them, any part where the 2 colors meet in terms of dye, any amount of overlap is going to make them go brown in that section. And so brown or olive green or something like that. And so getting a very clear cut between those 2 colors is difficult. And so Meg said that she tried again, and so she decided to get the actual right colors and then crank stripes. And so these turned out like perfect. They look fantastic. So very, very nice. Beautiful socks. My husband and I have been watching quarterback on Netflix, and we've been following Kirk Cousins, who was who was the who was the quarterback there. And yeah, that story is fantastic. So if anybody is into football, I encourage you to check that one out. Actually, that one and Receiver, both of those are really good. And then we have another pair of socks. So this is by Joseph. Joseph is also helping me out with the CSM class. So if you were in the community, you might notice that Joseph actually just received a new Erlbacher Speedster CSM in the past couple of weeks or months. It's very, very recent, very recent. And yeah, he said that he's actually seen people use the CSM for years now, because they have a retreat, and so he knows somebody who has one and is able to like kind of observe and learn by osmosis, kind of in that way. But he recently got his own and then set up the CSM and was able to make one sock and then made the second sock, and the second sock obviously went faster than the first sock. But yeah, just learning a lot, and just this is actually great. Just the first pair of socks off of the machine. It's a success. It's fantastic. And so the posts start with "it's a sock" because he showed the first one, and then there was a second post saying "it's a pair." So yeah, I do encourage you guys to check out. We do have these sections, these spaces in the community. So if you have ever been interested in CSM, you can kind of pop your head in there and then see what people are posting there as well. So those are the last two projects that I wanted to share this month. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for being here on this call today, for participating in both the SOS forums that we have and also in the new community that we have on Circle. I just appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you being so active and encouraging each other and participating. I know that I reached out recently over the past couple of weeks to also ask about, pattern testing and things like that. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to have more feedback before we publish a lot of things. And so we're asking members of our community to have a look at the work that we've done. We've put together the final draft, and just to have everybody put some more eyes on it. And so some of the changes that we're making to the patterns are things like increasing the font size. We're checking things for accessibility, for lots of things, because we just want to make these patterns better. And everything has always been everything has been tech edited and reviewed by multiple people. But what we are trying to do is just always trying to make a little bit more improvement, see what else we can do to make it a little bit better, and so this is all part of it. So I appreciate everybody who's participated in the pattern testing or sort of put your hat in the ring and said, hey, like, I'm willing to have a look at the work. So thank you so much for that. Again, we're going to meet tomorrow and do another live stream for the Taking Back Friday, and I'm going to show you the colors that have come out for Secret Stash. We're going to talk more about this make-along. I have more yarn things to share. So lots and lots of stuff coming up tomorrow as well, but I appreciate you guys being here today. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one next month, which will be the end of August. Wow, that'll be the end of summer. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you in the next one. All right. Bye, everybody.